Hi everyone, my name is Rhea Saran and I'm a professor of digital media at Columbia's Graduate School of Journalism and co-founder of SAJA, the South Asian Journalists Association. I'm delighted to answer some questions from GQ about the state of social media. So the first question was about social media in India. In 2011, I had the pleasure of doing a social media speaking tour of 9 cities in India. And I was just blown away by the interest in social media and how it's being used across the country. We went to the big metros, but we also went to places like Jamshedpur and Trivandrum, and seeing the number of people who are using social media, of course Facebook and Twitter, and I happened to be there when Google Plus was launched, and the kind of enthusiasm for Google Plus was particularly striking. I've also seen that since then India has become the second largest country on Facebook, overtaking Indonesia. And that doesn't surprise me, considering obviously the population in India, but also kind of the tech savviness and how people like to be connected. A reporter from an American publication contacted me when India broke into the top 10 list on Facebook in terms of the number of users, and asked me, why do Indians like Facebook? I said, Indians don't like Facebook. Indians love Facebook. And I said, it's because Indians are nosy people and we love to know what's going on in everybody else's lives, and there's nothing better than Facebook to kind of at least think you know that. So I'm very bullish about the way that India and Indians are going to continue to use social media, and are increasingly finding that it's going to be part of a place where they can do business and not just kind of have fun. Just as Indians have shown that the cell phone business, the mobile business, is all about business as well as kind of your personal lives. You're going to see that in the case of social media as well. The next question was, how is the cyber censorship in South Asia going to impact this? This is something that's a very much of a concern for people who are watching India, Pakistan, and that part of the world. India would like to claim its place as a leading democracy. Then if that's the case, then it has to be better and above its neighbors, who are not all necessarily as democratic as they could be, and therefore need to step up promotion of transparency and dissenting voices in cyberspace. And India, if it continues to react the way that it has in some areas of kind of cyber openness, it's a bad sign for India and its democratic ideals. So I would very much encourage India to think about being more open and less prone to censorship in various things, but especially when it comes to social media and email and things like that. I think it'll make a difference for India not to be completely contained in worrying about these things. Another question is, how do you stay relevant in social media when things change so quickly? It's a terrific question, because this is something that we have to deal with kind of on a daily basis. It seems like things like Facebook are constantly being updated and changed. And how do we continue to keep up? Well, the easiest answer is to practice and to use the networks on a daily basis, but also to be open-minded to getting new ideas, for getting new information, for reading things online. And one of the ways to do that is to read websites like Mashable, M-A-S-H-A-B-L-E, which I recommend to everyone I know, because they're just it's a great way to know what's going on. I write a social media blog for CNET, which is a big technology website, and the reason I started writing it is that I wanted to be able to keep up with social media. The dirty secret of social media is that almost everyone will miss almost everything you do on social media. So it's much better for you to be aware of that and then think about ways in which you can kind of keep up. So I write a social media week in review column, and that's one of the ways in which I have force myself to keep up. But the changing nature of social media, of Facebook, of Twitter, of Google Plus, means that you've got to be ever aware of the changes that are happening. In terms of ideas in terms of where all of this is going, I think that one of the main things to keep in mind is that we're just getting started in social media. This is 1996 as far as the web goes. If you can think back to that time when very few people in India had social media, had digital media, web access was a problem. But also in the United States, I used to go around to American newsrooms and tell them, you know, one day every computer in this building will be connected to the internet, because at that time there was what you call the internet computer, would be one computer connected to the internet, and I'd say every computer here will be connected to the internet, and people go ooh, and things change. It's kind of it's going to be hard to know where exactly all the changes are headed, but these are exciting times, and we expect to see a lot more changes in the years ahead. So if this is 1996, you can imagine Google still to be invented, Facebook, Wikipedia, things we use on a daily basis, YouTube, are all still to be coming down the pike. So being open-minded and looking for new things is going to be increasingly important. Let me read another question here. What is a question about how to talk about something new that comes along? I've been asked to give an example from one of my classes, because, by the way, if anyone heard that, I said to my students, if anyone knows that you are paying Columbia fees to take a class in Facebook or Twitter, you would be laughed out of town by your friends. So let me tell you why I think it's still worth kind of taking a class in these things, or attending talks or anything like that. In my mind, it's important because things do change so quickly. Take Pinterest, for example. It's something that almost no one had heard of, and now it's the fastest growing independent social network in history. And I spent a few days on it, and I'm still on it, and I wrote an article that said 6 things I learned from 6 days on Pinterest. And the point I was trying to make is that Pinterest is also a place of business. Pinterest is a very visual site. Pinterest allows you to collaborate. Pinterest gives you kind of more time to make things evergreen than Twitter and Facebook, which seems to have things that are more ephemeral, though of course Facebook timeline seems to be, well, a way to get you to spend more time on Facebook itself. So thinking about those about new technologies, I tell everybody, be an early tester, late adopter. Early tester, late adopter. There's no prize for being first on these things. I joined Twitter 2 years after all the cool kids did. Facebook 2 years after all the cool kids did. It's all about using it in a strategic manner that makes it useful for your audience and for the people you're trying to connect with. And finally, it says, how do you stay focused and connected on so many levels? Always knowing that there are ways in which you can do things. So like this video is shot using my iPhone 4S in my office by myself, so it doesn't look as good as it could. I could have gotten a crew and a bunch of people to help me pull this together, but timeliness is more important, I think, than getting the look and feel necessarily right. Audiences, I think, appreciate getting things done on time rather than getting it kind of some kind of perfect version that will come many weeks or months or years down the line. There are things that you're going to drop. I'd like to say that social media and Twitter especially, I call it email without the guilt, meaning if you are late with something or you don't respond to something on email, you feel bad. But on social media, you're going to miss a lot, but it doesn't matter. I hope this has been helpful to get a sense of the kind of things I'm thinking about in social media, and I would love to stay in touch. My Twitter handle is @Sree, and my email address is sree@sree.net, SREE@SREE.net. It's not sree.com, which is a chain of motels in Florida. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.